guys? Welcome back to Pure Evil MMA, episode number 122 officially, and we're going to be joined by Rosendo Sanchez. If you guys don't know or haven't been watching The Ultimate Fighter, don't know anything about MMA, and don't know who Rosendo Sanchez is, that's okay. You know, we got a lot of new fans, and I can't wait for him to come on and share some of his story. He is DC's boxing coach from AKA, or Sanchez Boxing. But you know what? He's going to be calling in just a little bit. He's finishing up a session, so he should be calling in, not too long. Matter of fact, he just sent me a message. Actually, no, it was Mallory Martin, who actually just updated me and says, Mallory Martin saying, hopefully by the end of July, she will be getting a fight, and she's obviously managed by Danny Rube, who manages some of the best in the game. Mallory Martin, unfortunately, was not able to get her fight, but if you guys want to check out our interview that was from last week, check it out at the CS50 recap show. But man, Joe Giannetti, Ultimate Fighter Season 27, getting the finish. And, well, I should have said spoiler alert just before that. Let me go in the chat room. I was at the edge of my seat for this fight. And just to let you guys know what you're in for on this live stream, really quickly, guys, get you into frame. So not only is Rosendo Sanchez going to be calling in, but also we're going to be reviewing Ultimate Fighter Season 27. Up next, you got Jay Cuccinello going up against Tyler Diamond. That's going to be a very, very tough fight. Let me pull in the live chat here. So if you guys have any questions, you can drop them in the live chat. If you're listening on the podcast and you didn't catch this live, that's all right. Subscribe down below, and big news. First, subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Podomatic, and now I can officially say you can subscribe to Pure Evil MMA on Spotify. I was just approved, and I'm so excited. I'm so blessed to be on that platform because it's so simple for everybody who wants to listen to music and they don't want to download another podcast app. I totally understand that. So there you go. You got the best music and the best podcast all in one. So if you guys want to jump on that, you droid heads out there that have been asking me to get on there, well, I had to wait and get approved. There you go. Let's get into Ultimate Fighter Season 27. Right now on TUF Talk, you have Joe Giannetti, and this was such a fun season. Listen, Joe Giannetti on this season, before he was even going into the house, I was following him on Snapchat, I was following him, over at Cage Titans, and everything that he's been doing with the South Shore Boys, Mike Danella, Tally Danella, Chris O'Brien, the Bearded Dragon. There's a lot of great fighters coming out of that gym. And then I remember Joe saying, you know what, Ultimate Fighter Season 27 tryouts are coming. So I want to hop on board that train. And when he went to the tryouts, I remember watching it, and they released the list of fighters. And I don't remember seeing Joe's name, so I kind of gave it like a couple of days. I probably gave it about a week or two, because within that time he was supposed to come on the show. And then that happened. If you think something bad happened to a fighter, you want to give him time to kind of digest and get resituated before you reach out to him. But Joe Giannetti actually was on the show, little did I know. And boom, episode 1 comes out with fire, and now he's closing the season off with fire. This fight did not go the distance. It ended in the first round. Joe Giannetti, like he says, snatching necks and cashing checks. And I did my live reaction on Periscope because there was no way I could miss it. I was at the edge of my seat. You can ask teammates or whatever, is Joe going to win tonight? They won't tell you. They will not tell you. And I've had a lot of these fighters on the show this season. I've had on Jay Cuccinello, who's going to be fighting against Tyler Diamond in the next episode. You also had, I tried to get Luis Pena on, and I've been talking with him. I've known Luis for a while now. Matter of fact, I've had his number in my phone for the last 2 years. And to see him tonight, having that moment where he's playing Xbox 360, you got to remember, he was out this season. Luis did not have a good time this season. But yet he was one of the most talked about fighters on the entire season, in my opinion. And I got to ask you guys, who did you think got the most recognition on this season, Ultimate Fighter? Joe Giannetti, Tyler Diamond. There was a lot of guys that were on this season that you didn't really hear too much about, like who was just in the main event with Joe Giannetti. Oh my God, Zuniga. I felt so bad for that guy because he was ready to fight his last opponent, which was Conor McGregor's teammate coming over from, SBC over in Dublin. And I don't know what happened. Allegedly, he had a cramp. I want to ask Rosendo about that because we got to see, we got to see Cain Velasquez give him, a nice deep body tissue massage. Also, guys, on today's show, we're going to be talking about some retirements that have happened this year. So stay tuned for that later on towards the end of the show. But Rosendo Sanchez, talking with 50 Cent, I cannot wait for him to call in. But let me get back into it. You had these guys living in the house for 16 guys living in the house for, what, 6 weeks. You get a little crazy in there, and to have an injury that early on, especially when you had all this energy and hype behind you. I mean, let's be real. Out of all the guys, when I saw in episode 1, you don't really know that much about a lot of these guys. But, I knew Lewis, I knew Joe, and I think, yeah, Bryce Mitchell. I've interviewed Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell before in the past, and it was going to be interesting to see how these guys got along on the season. There was a really tight, close bond. Not much drama unfolded this season, which was really nice to see. And you also have the hype of DC and Stipe coaching against one another, and the vibe that they were picking up against the two. I think Rosendo's calling in. Oh, here we go. Rosendo, how you doing?
Pretty good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Just live here on YouTube with everybody, just wrapping up. Trying to digest really what happened tonight, what we got to witness. First, let me just introduce you to our audience here. Obviously, we got Rosendo Sanchez on the phone. He helps over at AKA with DC, Cain Velasquez, part of Sanchez Boxing. I mean, this guy has been in the scene for so long. I've been along with DC, watching him rise, and a lot of other fighters. And we got to see you on the season Ultimate Fighter, man. And I've had a lot of these guys on, like Jay. I've had Joe on, all these guys, and they had nothing but nice things to say about you. Did you, make a lot of new friends this season?
I did. Going in there, it was a humbling experience for me, working with these guys that are young and hungry and up and coming. It was awesome. I got to build some good relationships with these kids. Again, I feel like I'm a coach. I'm a best friend, a father figure in a sense. If they ever, like I've always told them, if you ever need somebody to talk to, anybody for advice, whatever the situation is, I was there for as a coach. As anything they could think of that, I was there for.
So early on in the season, we saw a lot of frustrated fighters, obviously. You got all these guys who are undefeated. There are some egos going on, and we saw, when you guys were training with these guys, you got Cain and DC. These are bigger guys than, 145, 155 pounds. And we were seeing them push guys around. Was it kind of cool to see these guys interact with some of the big names and learn some of the little things that you guys were teaching?
There was, most of them were really open-minded, even though they were getting frustrated or whatever not, because the platform to this is a little difficult because it's not like you can go in there and try to change their whole, how they fight, whatever not, just try to help them with little things, to, mentally and physically get them ready for fights, and it was interesting seeing these kids just kind of like, embrace what coaches would say, and some of them would have their attitudes, whatever not, and then they'd realize that they know what they're talking about. They're here for a reason.
On the first day that these guys walked in, what was your first impression? Who stood out to you? Did you think Joe Giannetti would make it this far? I mean, who did you think was going to do the best when you first?
There was a few guys that stood out to me, but as a team we all picked. Everybody had their choices, their number one picks, and then DC was like, all right, well, give me why with this one or that one. I think Joe Giannetti sandbagged it a lot. Even though I thought he was one of our high ones on our list, but we didn't. It was like he sandbagged. I was kind of like, should we pick him? Should we not? It's just and then. And then, I took, of course, Louise and other guys, like that was one of my number one picks. And, again, I'm very happy for the kid. He's come along, and I'm excited to see him do big things.
Yeah, so before we talk about Joe's fight and some of the fights that happened this season, and pick which was your best fight or favorite fight of the season, I want to talk a little bit about what we witnessed tonight on the ice rink. I mean, what was going on there? That seemed so intense. It almost seemed like the title fight.
Yeah, it was very intense. You go in there, it was kind of, I feel like they were kind of trying to cheat us a little bit, because DC's never been on the ice. Stipe, from Ohio, come on, I know he's ice skated before, and I'm like, oh my God, they're screwing us. But it was pretty intense moments. It was exciting. DC's a very competitive person. He doesn't like to lose, and we come out to win, and it was pretty intense and pretty exciting. Got to talk a little shit to the coaches, and overall, with both coaching staffs, super respectful towards each other. We had our fun with each other, but it was nothing, where it was over the top, and it was good times.
What do you think was your favorite moment this season outside of the fights?
My favorite moment, connecting with a lot of these kids, and, giving them some advice, from me coming back from a boxing background, unfortunately my career was a little short, I wish I got to continue, I could have probably done big things too, but, giving these kids advice and working with them and having these kids from the beginning to the end believe in us. Some of us coaches that gave a lot of time to these guys one-on-one, and they grew with us. And as you can see now, I don't know if you know, but I got Luis Pena that came and moved out. He's out here and thinking about changing his camp out to here. Even him now is still growing. He's young, and these guys are young, and sometimes they're like they think they know everything, but then again, it's like you kind of give them advice, and sometimes they snap at you, and you just kind of like, all right, let them out all their emotion out, and then talk to them later, and then feel bad and apologize, and that's just a process as a coach and as a fighter, learning how to adapt and how to grow as a human being, to be better in life, and give these kids advice to not everybody's your friend. There's going to be a lot of guys that are your friends that are going to have your back and all this, and at the end of the day, it's your career, and you got to make the best choice for your career, whether I'm along with it, whether I'm with it or I'm not with it. This is your career, not mine or anybody else's.
Yeah, I've heard people say, not all of your enemies are really your enemies, and not all your friends are really your friends. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Something along that line. But tonight with all these guys that are on this season, living in a house for that many weeks, I saw you guys brought the Xbox over, and they got to have a lot of fun with that.
They did, and me and a couple of the coaches, got to go over there and hung out with the kids, and it's like for me, it's like, you put the time in with these kids, they'll start believing in the process of what we are trying to teach you to get to the next level. And, a lot of coaches don't do that. I try to give my guys as much time as I possibly can within affecting my life within my own family. You know what I mean? And it's tough. I went through a couple things in my life to realize that, you got to make, your number one thing is keep your family happy. And then of course my career as a coach, I gotta keep moving forward and try to continue building champions and moving along. But it's tough, and I like I said, I got to embrace, got to do some cool things at the house that maybe they didn't. I didn't get to see today's episode, but like we got to go there and do some cool things and and little bets, and it was a good moment for me.
So
I've learned a lot from it too.
A good moment tonight that we saw in the episode was when you guys were all playing the video games, and then Lewis actually wins the tournament. I mean, a guy who got injured had to sit out. He was able to have a lot of fun, sitting there in the finale with Joe. And then you had DC doing the octagon interview in the living room. It was it's so awesome. It was just such a good moment.
For sure, like even like that, and then even like the other one where Gunther had did the little player, whatever he did, he's making fun of me as a little short guy. All those cool things, seeing these kids, it's like, it brings me down to being, I'm 40 years old, these kids are younger than me, and it's you can still have fun with these kids,
What was your biggest takeaway from the coaching aspect, between, your team and Stipe's team? It seemed like for the most part, you guys got along.
Well, I think what I take away from both teams is that he brought his whole coaching staff. Stipe didn't, and whether, we get along, and I'm sure there's going to be, we have our days too when me and DC have our, we're not agreeing, we're not on the same page, but then it's like, okay, he's tired, he's frustrated, whatever, but then it's like he brings it back, he's like, okay, you're right, coach, sorry, blah, 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 let's get back to work. And, it was, I think that, bringing all your whole coaching staff and everybody's on the same page, and, we all did our reviews on what guys we liked, what guys we didn't like, and it was like, and I don't think there was not one guy we didn't like, it was just there was preferences,
Yeah.
And overall, all the kids were awesome, I wish that I could help all of them, but I mean, that wasn't going to happen, I told a lot of these guys after they started getting knocked out of the competition, if you guys ever need help, I'm willing to help you guys. I'm here for you guys too,
And it seemed like Cain Velasquez was also a huge help, getting the massaging in on Connor's boy that day where he pulled out of the fight. What were you guys thinking about that moment? What do you think was going on there?
That was a crazy moment. It's never happened, and it was crazy because I'm like, holy shit, because that kid's a real deal, and I don't think it was something like where he got scared and it was like he didn't want to go compete. It's just he actually had some kind of some doctors, after they went back and took him to the hospital. I don't know exactly what they called it, but it's something that it starts cramping your body, and it's like it don't matter what you try to do. We try to give bananas, we try to massage, try to do everything we could to get him to fight, and it just unfortunately didn't happen. It's sad, because he could have been one of the top guys. It sucks with the injuries that we had, because I think we could have probably went undefeated.
And you know what? There were a lot of injuries this season. I think, 3 of the guys who won their fights got injured.
Yeah, exactly. And it was our guys, and it's sad because now you let a guy in, you let a couple guys in, and it's like, damn, and now some of these guys are sitting back like, fuck, I got injured, I can't compete. But now, are all these guys going to compete in the finale? I don't know, I do know there's a couple that are competing, but are all of them? Probably not,
Yeah, Lewis told me, he was like, if I could fight today, I probably could. So, that's him saying, from a fighter standpoint, and I'm sure we'll find out in due time. But speaking about injuries and somebody that you're really close to that was on the season, Cain Velasquez, we were just talking about really quickly. What do you think about his return? We have a question in the chat room from Kerry Scroggins.
I'm not going to give you guys a time frame. He's back in the gym working hard. He's working at his own pace. If you guys know, he had a new baby, so he's spending time with the family. As a fighter, you're on the road a while, you're training. You put your family to the side a little bit, and with him having his child and his daughter, so he's giving some time with that. He's coming in. He came and gave us a bunch of great sparring for DC. So I mean, he's looking good. It's all within due time. He'll be back. I don't want to give you guys a time. You guys will see him here pretty close, just shortly.
My last 2 questions to you here is, how do you think this fight's going to go between DC and Stipe come the finale?
And what do you mean by that?
What can you expect? Do you think it's going to go the distance? I see you guys are always training, those 30-minute rounds. And what can?
Here's one thing that I tell people: DC has never lost as a heavyweight. DC, as we've been seeing him train here at AKA, he's brought in some good sparring partners, and a lot of people misunderstand him as him not having power. I've seen a lot of good things in this camp, and I'm not saying it because he's my fighter, but I'm blown away with everything that's happening right now. I feel like all the stars are aligning, and I feel like it's going to be an exciting fight. I don't want to call it, but I don't think it will go all the 5 rounds. And I think we're going to come out with a win.
And you know what? I totally 100% agree with you. Within the last 2 years, I really feel like DC's really come into his own, being able to be more vocal and feel more like himself in front of the cameras. And being on this season was amazing, especially since it's the end of the Ultimate Fighter. This is my last question for you. Was it kind of a cool moment being on one of the last seasons helping coach?
It was. It was a surreal moment. It was a humbling experience for me. Getting my name out there too a little. DC will probably go down after this fight as one of the all-time greatest of all times, and my name will be tagged along next to it. And it's I've learned a lot within working with different camps at Randy Couture's. I started at NCFA NorCal Fight Alliance in Santa Rosa with Dave Terrell, which we and him had our falling out, but it is what it is. Moving on to Randy Couture's, working with one of my main guys was Tyson Griffin, and now I was down here on a whim with training Tyson, and he goes, "Who are you?" I'm like, "Oh, that's my Tyson. That's my boxing coach." I've been with him for 6-7 years. Pretty much since the beginning of his career. And it's a lot of people can try to knock what I've done in my career, and I've seen the growth within me and DC and a lot of these guys that I've been helping, and I'm just so excited to be part of all this.
Oh my goodness! Before I forget, there's no way I can't ask you this question. There's that picture of you and 50 Cent. What's going on there?
He was at the fights for Bellator, and I heard a little story about him fighting. And I said, hey, and I was talking to him. I said, hey, if you need a coach, let me know. I'll fly out. We can work something out and get you right for your fight. So that was what happened. We had a good conversation. A lot of he's a celebrity, he's a star. And he sat down and had a good conversation with me. It was pretty interesting. It was cool.
What a fun time to be in this scene, man. And I want to thank you so much, Rosendo, for coming on Pure Evil MMA. I want you to have a great night, man. And, we'll see you come the finale.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Everybody stay tuned for July 6th. We'll have some exciting fights. July 7th, we will have both straps, 205 and heavyweight, and I'm so excited. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
So there you guys go. DC's boxing coach, Cain Velasquez, boxing coach. I know you guys wanted to know like a little timeline. Let me turn the light on. I know you guys wanted a little bit of a timeline, but he couldn't really release too much information. I totally understand that. And with this big fight, I'm sure that's the only thing on his mind. But he knows. He knows what's going on. He knows if Lewis is going to be fighting the finale, which I personally believe we are going to see Lewis in the finale. I mean, how can't you? If you're going to look back in 3 years from now, and you're like, oh, TUF 27, who do I remember from that season? You know, let me ask you guys, who were the top 3 guys you thought on season 27 of The Ultimate Fighter? Right off the top, I think Joe Giannetti, and I don't want to be biased. Joe Giannetti, Luis Pena, maybe Bryce Mitchell. Yeah, there's Delaney. There's Delaney as well, which was a lot of fun. I'm sure a lot of people remember Delaney, but you know, the Violent Bob Ross. Out of all of the names out there, you think a lot of these good names are taken. And here's Lewis with the Violent Bob Ross. And this name must have come up within the last year or two that he recently had it, because I think he had a different fight name when I spoke to him originally. I think it was probably about 2 years ago. So I don't know if Lewis is going to be on the prelims of that card. I would think that he should be on, you know, the main card. And you got to remember, there's 3 fight nights that week. It's International Fight Week coming up, I believe. Matter of fact, let me check. It's going down, what is it, July 7th, I believe? We're about 10 days out. Yeah, July 7th. About 10 days out. Let's take a look. I doubt there's even anything on there. Let me see what information I can get. But I think those are the 3 guys. You got DC on Tough Talk right now. I mean, this has just been a great season all around. Now we're seeing the change over to the Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. And let me say this really quick before we close out Tough Talk. Congratulations to Antonina Shevchenko on her win. We're seeing a huge transition as of late. Let me take Rosendo out. You know, Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. I was a little nervous, you know, hoping that she was going to be able to get the finish. Because if you guys watched the show beforehand, I was talking about, you know, how I've watched Antonina in the last couple of years, and she's put girls out. She's knocked girls out of the ring. But her last performance, she went the distance, and it was dominant. She won every round, in my opinion. But if you're going to be on the Contender Series, you need a finish, and she got it. She got it. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat room. Violent Bob Ross is a must on the finale. I mean, there's no way you can't have the Violent Bob Ross on there. And I'll take this little clip and I'll send it to him, man, because, you know, how do you not have one of the biggest stars allegedly on the season? I mean, I go through Twitter, I check out what everyone's talking about, and it seems like he's right up in there. A lot of people don't like TUF, but I do. You know, and it seems like that's the judgment. But it seems like there's a lot of people out there that aren't into the MMA scene that do like watching Ultimate Fighter, that into reality shows. I mean, this has really changed the game. It's really changed the game of MMA. It's brought it to so many homes. And now you're seeing it in ESPN. And you can't get to that moment without starting somewhere. And it started with the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, for my generation, you know, back in the 90s, I feel like beating a broken record here, but back in the early 90s, going to Tommy K's, Blockbuster, you know, after you're done watching all the WWFs when you're, you know, 9, 10 years old or whatever, you see UFC and you see all these, you know, 3-letter companies that look violent on the cover. And I would always see UFC and I'd walk by it, and I never knew it was like real fighting. And then I remember asking my dad, who knew exactly who Hoist Gracie was. It was just like, wow, like, well, why didn't I rent one of these videos back then? But what got me into the UFC, MMA, was Ultimate Fighter Season 1. That's where I started this MMA journey, if we really look back. And I think that a lot of people can relate to that. And the Contender, I don't even know half of the fighters on the Contender Series. But here's the thing. For people, I definitely understand your frustration. I mean, the Ultimate Fighter gives you a platform where you can learn about these guys, see their lives, but a lot of people feel like it's so played out. Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, in my opinion, is going to help a lot of people, you know, where you guys are from, where I'm from, here on the East Coast, or if you're in Oregon, wherever you are in the world. You're going to be more interested about fighters that are coming out of your area to contend in the Contender Series, and you can go out and watch them fight. I mean, Julian Erosa on this last week, He was on The Ultimate Fighter. We know a little bit about his background. You see a lot of fighters that didn't make it, but they're known from being on The Ultimate Fighter. I don't think if you're not going to make a splash, if you're not going to get like a highlight reel knockout, probably not going to be that well known from the Contender Series, but you're going to get that contract. And that's all that matters. And there's a lot of people who are interested to see what the new up-and-comers are, who the up-and-comers are. Let me get rid of this TUF slideshow. But the other thing is, they're going to be forgotten really quick if they don't, stay at it. Antonina Shevchenko, I mean, this season you're seeing more high level, more headliners. Not really headliners, but there's something intriguing about these matchups like Hardy, like Antonina Shevchenko. I mean, now we have the first female sister duo in the UFC. I mean, come on. That's exciting. Nick Newell, one-handed fighter. People want to see that stuff. My opinion can go so far with the Ultimate Fighter because it was up to me, I would keep it on. Do I think it's going to be the end, though? Do I think that we will never see another season Ultimate Fighter after season 28? And are they even doing season 28? Because I know they had the tryouts. But will we see another season of the Ultimate Fighter? I hope so. It would be so sad to cut off. Henry Ford checking in. Henry, what's going on, brother? Eddie, where is Ted? No, I text Ted check. And Ted Check did not check his text. So tell Ted Check to check his text. How about that? I'd love for Ted to call in right now. I think he's been super busy with the boys lacrosse. What else we got going on in the chat room? Eddie, do you think the sisters will fight each other ever? All right, so I know why Ann's bringing this up. Obviously, Ann's been checking out my Twitter page, and, somebody brought this up. All right, so somebody brought this up earlier in the week, or earlier today, I think, actually. They, on a thread, they said, I'd love to see the Shevchenko sisters fight. And I didn't call him an idiot, but I was like, that's just stupid. That's just dumb. Because it's never going to happen. I'm Italian. My family fights all the time. I would love to get paid to fight with my family. I'd love to get paid to throw down with like one of my uncles or something that gets under my skin time to time. But, I've heard Luke Thomas also say that he would like to see the Diaz brother fight. And that's something that, like, you only see in a video game, honestly. So, if you're asking me if the Shevchenko sisters are ever going to fight, I doubt it would be that duo. But maybe somewhere along this timeline in the next couple of years, maybe we'll see another brother duo. It's going to take something like this. Like, I could maybe if, like, Nate fucked Nick's girl, or vice versa. It would have to be vice versa. If Nick fucked Nate's girl, then maybe you'd get a fight. Other than that, I don't see. I mean, the Shevchenko sisters are so tight with one another, always by each other's side. You guys have seen me interview both of them plenty of times before in the last couple of years here on Pure Evil MMA, and it's just awesome to see the rise. And I remember Valentina asking her like, "Well, when do you think your sister's going to come over in MMA?" And they really weren't sure. I mean, she had a couple of fights, but if you guys know Muay Thai that much, when you make a crossover, you don't know what you're going to get here. A lot of these Muay Thai fighters, once they're taken down to the ground, and I was nervous that Antonina was going to get taken down and, submitted. She had a tough opponent in front of her. But you know what? Antonina was able to keep it standing, get the finish. But with Muay Thai girls coming over, like Jarina Bars, the girl who beat Chris Cyborg at Lion Fight, she tried her cards over at an MMA organization. I don't remember what organization it was. But she tried her hand, and girls were just taking her down. She was having a very hard time. So if you spend so much time in MMA and you don't really have ground game, it's going to be really hard to learn that quick. But obviously, Antonina trains with her sister Valentina. These girls started Muay Thai. Valentina making the transition over like a former opponent of hers in the Muay Thai scene of Joanna champion. So Joanna Jędrzejczyk fought Muay Thai as well. She made a great transition over, but you don't see her ground game that much. But she has enough knowledge to know how to get out of positions and stuff like that. And Antonina holds that skill as well. She's training with the best in the world. Rose Namajunas trains with the Shevchenko sisters all the time. You have Coach Pavel in their corner. And if you guys know anything about that guy, he's a straight stud. I mean, the guy's been shot and survived. Like 3 years ago, he got shot. Valentina and the Shevchenko sisters were in a shootout ordering food somewhere a few years ago, and the coach literally saved their lives. He got shot. Just absolutely crazy, the story of the Shevchenko sisters. The father, if you guys don't know, you can do your own research, but the father was always into hunting, but the mom always consistent on, competitions and stuff like that, which is awesome to see them literally, I'm going to say it again, blossom in their careers, because I get nervous about a lot of these fighters. And I was mentioning it on episode 120 and a half. A lot of these fighters, they can't retire. Cowboy Cerrone couldn't retire and be comfortable. Showtime Bettis couldn't retire and be comfortable. It's very sad. Very sad to see in this sport. Let's see what else is going on in the chat room. Family does come first. I 100% agree. And we even tried asking Rosendo a second ago about Cain. He was like, his family is really coming first right now. And it seems like a lot of these guys, this is a perfect segue, actually. It seems like a lot of these guys are putting forth their effort now that they're in the later ends of their career towards younger generation, whether it's your family or, helping kids train at the gym or opening up a gym, whatever it is. And that gets me in the next segment here, which is, pull up the full screen. Let me say goodbye to Antonina. Goodbye, Antonina. Let's talk a little bit about Johnny Hendricks retiring today. Bisping retiring this year. And also, Rashad Evans retiring this year. That's 3 former champions retiring within a year. In 2018, we've seen a lot of retirements. Brad Pickett is making returns. So, there's a little something inside of you that's like, do we take retirement serious? And me and James McSweeney spoke all about this. And I did the Rashad Evans top 5 favorite moments. And I'm going to do that justice for Johnny Hendricks as well, just like we did for Michael Bisping. We're going to do that with James McSweeney because James is very close with Rashad Evans as well. So we're going to do Rashad Evans' best moments with him, with obviously James McSweeney. Maybe we can get Rashad on as well because Rashad was his coach on The Ultimate Fighter. Even before The Ultimate Fighter, him and Brendan Schaub came over with Rashad from the gym. James McSweeney also helped before The Ultimate Fighter. Rashad trained for the Forrest Griffin fight. There were so many amazing moments throughout Rashad's career that James had been, right there for. So we're going to have him on. Also possibly Overeem in the next couple of weeks. So if you guys aren't subscribed already to me and James' podcast, you better jump on it. I'll put the link down below here for you guys to jump over. It's not here on this YouTube channel. It's on the other one. But, let me talk about Johnny Hendricks really quick. The turning point in Hendricks' career. I mean, this guy you can watch. Henry Ford, man. I know I'm jumping around for you guys listening to podcasts because you can't see the chat room. But in the chat room, let me read this really quick. Ann saying, yep, they're way too close to fight each other. But money does talk, so who knows? Or, if someone, fucks the girl, there's money there. Rosendo Sanchez is coming on, asked Henry Ford. Henry, you just missed Rosenda. You just missed him. And checking in, all retired. Michael Bisping, only one that fought clean his whole career. I will miss him the most. You know what? I'm not going to argue against that, and I don't know the real answer for that, but Johnny Hendricks has definitely had some struggle making weight since USADA came over. I don't want to bash him on the day that he retires. He's had so many amazing moments, especially early on in his career. This is a guy who came over as a wrestler and found a lot of power in his hand. I remember when Johnny Hendricks going there early on in his career in the UFC, and he would just land these crazy combinations, uppercuts on guys, just drop dudes. He's had so many highlights in his career, but the turning point for me really was the Wonder Boy fight. We can go back 3 years ago. I forgot the exact date, but 2015, 2016, we saw I think it was the end of 2015, thinking about it. But Big Rig going up against Wonder Boy. And I remember it was one of the first articles that I wrote that got a lot of attention. Before it was even writing for a website, I was writing for my own thing up on the old Twitter. But I remember this fight was just such a turning point for so many people to be like, wow, this new era is coming on. Look at this guy Wonder Boy, and the way that he broke down Johnny Hendricks. We never saw anybody beat Johnny Hendricks the way that Wonder Boy did. No one has done that. And ever since then, I mean, he's gone on a couple of fights and, hot and cold. The GSP fight, once he lost that fight, and that's a fight I think that he should have won. That GSP fight, I scored easily for Johnny Hendricks. The judges gave it to GSP. GSP ended up going on to retiring that night. That was such an upsetting moment in Johnny Hendricks' career. And really after that, it's not like he struggled that much, but towards 2015, 2016, Johnny Hendricks came into some issues and he was changing camps. I remember his last camp change was just a couple of months back. I mean, he hasn't been able to get right. He gets irritated during media interviews as of late because there's so many people that are bashing him, but we're reporting what we're seeing. This is not what we want to see from a former champion. You should be making weight. You should know what weight class you belong in. I don't know, like, it's just sad to see so many guys fight out their career when maybe there was something they could have done different earlier on, or a moment that they didn't deal with the right way that just threw them off. You see that with a lot of fighters. They just can't come back from a moment that has happened. Same with Rashad Evans when he fought John Bones Jones. Never the same again after that moment where he felt betrayed. Felt betrayed by, Jackson's, this young up-and-comer. And saying, Johnny missed weight a lot. And it was such an unfortunate thing. I mean, people were celebrating when you would make weight. No one should be celebrating making weight. You should be making weight. And I know that there's going to be fighters that have something to say to this, but it just doesn't look good at this level. It does not look good. And this is why a lot of people think that once USADA came over, that something changed in Johnny Hendricks' game. Maybe he wasn't clean. I'm not saying he wasn't clean, but I definitely understand Ann's point here where he says, out of all those guys, Bisping was the guy who did a nice clean career. And look what happened when USADA came in for Bisping. All of a sudden he starts winning fights. He starts beating people like Anderson Silva, beating like Dan Henderson in the rematch. Great example right there. These are guys that he struggled with early on in his career because they were not living right. And Bisping talked about it all the time. USADA coming in and people are still saying there's still ways to cheat. You have the Diaz brothers talking about it constantly. Well, everyone's on steroids. And it's kind of funny we laugh at it, but if you only knew what was really going on in a lot of gyms out there, and I'm not putting my finger on any gym or anything like that, but we need to clean the sport up, and this is what's going to happen. This is what we expected to happen. We knew we were going to go through a little rough transition, but at the other side of it, we were going to get more of a comeback with, more finishes, more clean fighters. People are going to want to tune into the sport because they know that. I mean, I started losing interest in baseball in the mid-2000s because all these guys were getting popped for steroids. Mark McGwire taking back the home run record. Barry Bonds. I mean, it's just such a turnoff for so many people in the sport. And when you have USADA coming in to clean up the sport, and, they can only do so much. You also have to remember that the UFC is hiring USADA. So it's kind of awkward when you want guys like Brock Lesnar to come over and fight. We probably know Brock's not the cleanest specimen there is, but he's such a draw that there has to be some dirty handshakes along the way sometimes. Now, me and James are talking about this. I'm not saying that does happen, but people believe that USADA gives a little bit of a break, or UFC tells USADA to give Brock Lesnar a little bit of a break, or there's something that's funny going on behind the scenes with Brock Lesnar there. But like with Mark Hunt, man, when he took that fight for UFC 200, he knew what he was getting himself into. Did you really think Brock Lesnar was going to be clean 6 months before the fight? I mean, he knew what he was getting himself into. And it's just sad when you look at people like Mark Hunt, another great example. Fought a lot of dirty fighters in his career. Bigfoot, Silva. He's fought, I hate throwing people under the bus, but he's fought a lot of people who have been popped by USADA. And look at him now. He's winning fights against guys who are clean. He had this whole thing talking about it. UFC was not happy with it. But he makes a great point. It's just not fair. So throughout time, you're going to see this happen as the sport's being cleaned up. You're going to see guys like Johnny Hendricks want to retire. And maybe he doesn't retire. Maybe he just, it was the end of his contract, and you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Does anybody have the information? Does anybody know what's going on with Johnny Hendricks? Was it the last fight on his contract? Let me know here on Twitter at evil_echo. That's EVIL_ECCO. Also at Pure Evil MMA. If you want to rank in, you're not watching this live. It's just, we're seeing this in the last 3 years. But with Bisping, I guess that doesn't really make sense, but it's his time. But Johnny Hendricks, man, you got to remember, he's only a couple years older than me. The guy's 33 years old. He's not 39. Look at Olean. Oh, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. The guy who's been doing Ezekiel chokes nonstop. Olenek? The guy's 41 years old. Snapping necks. Johnny Hendricks, 32 years old. What's going on? Why is he not? You look at 32, 33 years old. Guys are in their prime. 32, 33. I don't know what's going on with Johnny Hendricks. And I feel like I've been ranting about it. And I'm not doing him much justice. And I feel sorry about that. Let me see what's going on in the live chat. Henry Ford raking in. Nah, Dan Henderson was always a beast. 100%. Dan Henderson is a full-blown Native American. Henry Ford. They call Dan Henderson Woodman because he's built like hardwood. Evil Ed, you think Tyler Diamond will beat Joe Giannetti? That's a great question. That's going to be a very tough fight. But what I saw tonight with Joe Giannetti, man, I think that was one of the best fights this season. The combinations that he was landing on Zuniga was just absolutely amazing. And yes, he did get caught. Maybe he got a little overconfident at times, but he was seeing all these openings, all these connections, and he was making them. I mean, he landed about 16 head kicks, if I count correct. He was just lighting Zuniga up tonight. And once he took him to the ground, I was like, oh no, this is a mistake. I mean, before that fight even happened, you had Stipe telling Zuniga, he was like, listen, Joe likes to keep his chin out. And he was telling the camera, he was like, I think Zuniga is a very crisp boxer. And I honestly thought, because, you know, if we look at Joe Giannetti's last fight, you guys can go watch it on YouTube somewhere for Cage Titan. His opponent fell out in one of his last fights, and he had to take a short notice fighter. He went in there and he got, you know, a pretty tough fight coming at him in that first round. The second round, he was able to get the choke and sink it and get the W. So you're seeing him develop with his striking skills more that they weren't able to see in some of Joe's last, you know, if they were looking him up on YouTube. You got to remember, at this age, guys are growing week to week, month to month. Like, you can't expect the guy that you're seeing from even 3 months ago to be the same guy right now, or 3 months from now, or 10 days from now. You never know what you're going to get. You don't know what they're learning or who they're learning from. Look at TJ Dillashaw once he moved over to Dwayne Ludwig, how well that works for him. And Rosendo was just saying, like, Luis Pena, he came out to AKA. He's been training with us. And I've been following along with, you know, the Instagram stories and all that. I like keeping up to date with that. And they're in there, they're blasting MGK, which is kind of funny because MGK, Ohio native. But it's just cool to see a lot of these guys come to their own. Even with DC, I was talking about, just it seems like a lot more people are fans of DC now than they were in 2014, 2015. And there was no reason for people not to like DC back then, except for he was beating all the big names coming up. So you guys got going on in the chat room. Henry Ford, I like Joe Giannetti's jokes, man. Yeah, he snapping necks and cashing checks, man. And what he was saying about, this is something I didn't talk about early on in the show and I wanted to discuss. Him talking about being homeless and unfortunately stealing jewelry from his father and how he wants to repay him. And if you guys remember the very first episode of this season of Ultimate Fighter, when Joe went in there and got the win, let me pull it up. Get rid of you. Hey. Where are we at? Well, I can't find it. But anyway, you remember him saying, Dana, I need that 50 G's. I need that fight check bonus. And Dana was like, you know what, kid? You got it. And that was such a great moment. Now he's getting another bonus for another first round finish. He's going to buy his dad a new check. Now I heard guys ragging on that, saying, man, why don't you invest in stocks or something for your dad, not some jewelry. Man, you don't know how we roll on the East Coast. I would love to buy my dad some nice jewelry. I'd love to buy my parents jewelry. Come on. No, you do what you want with your money. Let them do what they want with their money. And I'll do what I want with mine. How about that? How about that? Joe feels like he needs to pay his father back. If you heard the story that he shared with you guys, he's very close with his father. It's just it's so amazing to see that. You see so many guys, and this can even blend with the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. They put it all on the line, and if it doesn't work out for them, they call it quits. And it's so frustrating to see, like Greg Rebello, whose face is right here, who just fought this week at... All right, let me get it for you guys. I'm sorry for people listening to the podcast. Ay. We got people like Greg Rebello, man. And let me say something about Greg Rebello. Amazing fighter from here on the East Coast. Amazing East Coast star. Definitely deserves a shot in the UFC. There's no reason not to really sign him. But he just hasn't got that contract yet. And unfortunately, he retired. He stepped away from the game. We've also seen this with Chris Curtis this season. It's so sad to see guys lose and call it quits. It's heartbreaking. So to see Joe Giannetti tonight, I was at the edge of my seat screaming at the TV. It's just so exciting when you invest your time and energy into a season or a fight or whatever. There's a real payoff when you see them succeed. Like Antonina, there's a payoff seeing that fighter succeed. So I'm so happy for Joe Giannetti. I mean, perfect timing, great fight, best fights on the season. I don't know how the Tyler Diamond fight's gonna go on. I'm definitely nervous, and you have to be crazy to predict anything in the MMA scene. Honestly, you don't really know what's gonna happen. But to give my take, it's a tough fight. It's a very tough fight. I really don't like giving my take, which, how do I see this fight going? My honest take. I could see Tyler winning maybe the first round, second round maybe. And if Joe can hang in there. I mean, what I saw tonight from Joe Giannetti, how he was landing these combinations, how he just, it's like he played the video game the night before and just did that same exact thing. It looked like a video game. He wasn't holding back. And that's something I like to see. And that's something I would like to see on the bigger stage. Can you do that on the big stage? That's the thing. We have to wait and find out about that. Well, I could see Tyler Diamond winning, the first, second round. Going to the third round, though, if Joe can stand in there, hang in there with him, wear him down. I mean, Joe was landing so many. I mean, I'm really impressed with what I saw tonight from Joe Giannetti. I really am. Hands down, very impressed. Tyler Diamond, another impressive fighter. One of the best fighters on the season. Everyone knows it. I don't know what to expect, but I can see it being a very, very fun fight. Very entertaining. Another edge of your seat fight. You just got a taste from tonight of what you can expect come the TUF finale in 10 days. We're 10 days out. 10 days out. I believe we're 10 days out. It's absolutely crazy. I love watching these fighters blossom. What else you guys got going on in the chat room before I move over to the next subject here? So does Diamond. He is well-rounded. Very, very well-rounded. And you know what? There's something about Tyler Diamond, his brother having autism. I mean, it really touches you. Right? Is that Tyler Diamond, whose brother has autism? They go hunting in the woods. I mean, when you see stuff like that, and he's got a hot girlfriend too. Not gonna lie. Definitely a very pretty girlfriend. But that kind of stuff touches your heart. You don't want to see people like that lose. You never want to see a good guy lose. Come on. We got Bella over here watching us. Check her out. Watching me do the show. Hey, Belle. Actually, no, that's Puff. Look at that big yawn. What's up, Puff? I don't know where Bella is. Bella's down on the bottom somewhere. Those are the new girls, by the way, in case you guys wanted to know. Angie Jab's got the other one. But guys, if you're just tuning in now, I got Pure Evil MMA up on Spotify. So make sure you guys subscribe on Spotify where I can see all those stats. Guys, we got, in the last 3 months, we've got a few thousand downloads on the podcast. So if you don't watch the entire live streams, and I've been doing a lot more live streams as of late, make sure to subscribe to the podcast and enjoy that on your morning commute or at the gym or whatever you're doing. Now that it's on Spotify, it's just so convenient for so many more people who have Android or whatnot. So if you guys have any more questions in the chat room, make sure you drop them. Let me move forward to the next segment here. What is the next segment? What else did I write down for tonight's show? Rosendo. Tonight's topics. Rose Namajunas seeking out therapy. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions about this, and my take on it, honestly, pisses me off a lot to see people are saying, oh, it shows signs of weakness. Listen, what Conor McGregor did is wrong. As much as we were excited for what was going on because we're watching it through a TV as entertainment, for those people on the bus, it's a different story. They did not know what was going on. Rose Namajunas worried about fighting Joanna Jędrzejczyk the next day, and she didn't know it was Conor McGregor running out, throwing something, smashing the window. When you're a high-level anyone, if you're an actor, if you're a B actor, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. There's stalkers out there. There's terrorist attacks all the time. I mean, there's a big debate whether this was a terrorist attack. It definitely struck terror in a lot of people, like Rose Namajunas. who's saying that she's got PTSD from it, and you can't rag on that. You weren't there. You didn't experience that. You weren't living that moment. You weren't feeling the energy that she had at that moment. You weren't in the mindset that she had in that moment. You weren't as it was very unsettling to think about Rose Namajunas in that situation when I took myself outside the headline. It's very disturbing, and I feel like Conor McGregor really fucked Rose Namajunas up here. I mean, he should definitely reach out and give an apology. For anyone saying that Rose Namajunas is weak for reaching out for therapy, you're an idiot. You are an idiot to even pass judgment on that. This is a world champion. This is a girl that's doing things that a lot of people will never accomplish. So it's crazy to hear people give their opinions, negative opinions. I love hearing people's opinions. I hate hearing bashing or negative opinions like that. The girl's doing something to strengthen her mind. She has a history of in her family of suicides. Ronda Rousey's history of suicides. When Ronda Rousey said what she said 2 years ago on Ellen, and to see the reaction people were giving, it's disturbing. I lost my best friend in high school, and I still have his picture here in the studio hanging up because it gives me inspiration. He was really big in the Connecticut hardcore scene and a lot of bands, doing a lot of shows, having that teenage vibe, just like we wanted to be rock stars at the time. I was the lead singer in a bunch of bands, which is such exciting times, and there was a moment where he thought that he didn't have anybody, which was just ridiculous to even think. I don't know why he thought that, but I'll never forget, man. I remember finding out that he killed himself. I was at work. I was working at Zoomies skate shop. I used to work at the skate shop at Zoomies. You guys know what Zoomies is. I know that got listeners all over the world. Zoomies is a skate shop where you can get like cool apparel or new skateboard decks, or come in get your get new paper done or whatever you needed. I was your guy at the skateboard counter. I remember my best friend Chrissy ran in, and Chrissy actually introduced me to Mike, and she was like, Mike killed himself. And I was like, what the It just caught me so off guard. It really bothered me. I remember going to his house that day, going upstairs and feeling that energy, going into his bedroom, and he had a sink in his bedroom. I remember looking in the sink and seeing like somebody was spitting up loogies in there, and it just made so much sense in my mind, like picturing what was going through his head. And people were saying that there were a bunch of things, people saying that he was messed up, whatever. But to get to that moment in your head, and you're like sitting there, it's not cool. You wish that person would reach out for help. So for Rose Namajunas to be reaching out for help and getting backlash for it pisses me off a lot. One of my football players on my high school football team, or my middle school football team, who taught me at fullback. I'm a big kid. I played middle linebacker and fullback in middle school and high school for Madison football team. And I remember him killing himself, not thinking that there's a future outside of high school. And it's crazy to think, I know it's crazy for a lot of people to think that here's a UFC champion, she has the world in her hands. Why is she depressed? Man, I don't have the answer for that. To each your own. But we all have issues. We all go back home to our towns, and if you've experienced traumatic things as a child growing up, it's hard to make sense of a lot of those things later on in her life. And Rose Namajunas, if you guys know anything about her story, I think I was just saying her mother committing suicide, the area that she grew up in. I mean, she did an amazing job explaining her story on Joe Rogan's podcast, if you guys want to go check that out, if you haven't yet. Long story short, it just pisses me off to see any negative reaction to Rose Namajunas, and I wish for the best for her, and I hope that she's an inspiration to girls or boys, anyone, men out there that want to, that feel like they need to reach out. Even if you're not suicidal and you're dealing with a hard time, a lot of my listeners know that, I've dealt with my issues before in the past with family or girls or whatever. Even girlfriends breaking up, it can be difficult times for people. You don't know why someone's reaching out for therapy, but not everybody has people to talk to, especially for Rose Namajunas. I'm sure there's a lot of fake people that are surrounding her. You gotta remember, people like that, they have a lot of yes men surrounding them. Don't forget about that. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat room. Sorry about that little rant. But, even Logic, one of my favorite rappers, Joe Giannetti, telling me all about Logic. And I got more into Logic because Joe kind of put me onto him. But, you know, everyone knows his song, the 1-800 song, the suicide song. It just means a lot. In this day and age, it's cool to see the LGBT community come out. My little brother about to get married. Anthony Gustafson, I don't know what you're saying. I let her fiddle with my anal grass. Alright, Anthony. Enzo Torres, have you ever eaten an asshole that was got shit all over your lip ring? Actually, that's actually a good question. I don't know. I never checked. There was this one time, if you want me to share an embarrassing story. In my high school days, this is so embarrassing, but I was fucking a girl, and I left the house. I looked down. My pants were a mess. I'll leave it at that. And throughout the time, she was saying, Eddie, stop. Eddie. I was like, nope, gotta finish. Should have listened to her. I never told her either. I never told her I went home and I was so disgusted. I never told her. She was like, what's wrong? Nothing. Nothing. You don't need to know. It would just, it's just so funny. It's just so funny. So yeah, to answer your question, Thug Rose, nah, Enzo, come on, get out of here. Stipe Miocic, what the just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Next topic. Alright, moving on, but Rose Namajunas though. Alright, so last episode we were talking about 2018, and I was kind of going back wondering what were some of the best moments from UFC in 2018 so far. Not many stood out. You know what did stand out though? Conor McGregor throwing the dolly through the bus window. That's what people are going to remember. Isn't that fucking sad? That's what people are going to remember from 2018. That's what the responses I'm getting. Have we forgot about Lyoto getting his knockout kick over Vitor and then piecing most recently? I was talking about Justin versus Dustin. Amazing fight that went down this year. Ann's cracking up in the chat room. Eddie looks like a kinky mofo. I like Conor McMurphy. Hey. But you know what? There's been so many great fights going on this year, and there's a great matchup coming up ahead. We got Jessica Andrade versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz going down at UFC 228. This is a fight for some reason I felt like already happened. And I don't know why I think it already happened, but I feel like Jessica Andrade, she just deserved that title shot at this point. The way that she dominated Claudia blew me away. I've never seen Claudia dominated the way that Jessica Andrade. I mean, the way that she went in there and just was just picking her up, flipping her. It looked like DC versus Gustafson. It looked like a mini version of DC versus Gustafson. UFC 228. What is on that card? Do you guys know what's on UFC 228? Let me look it up. Hold on. Roxy Astor from Glow just sent me a message. Let me respond to her really quick. Her husband actually was the cameraman for the UFC. Hold on. Hey, you give me a few times for tomorrow or Friday. I will let him pick. Hey, Roxy, I'm actually live right now, so I'm sending this message to you over the live stream. But tomorrow works fine between 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Or the following day, same time. Let me know. And guys, that's another thing I'm working on right now. If you guys have Netflix and you've been watching Glow, or if you're from the 80s and watched the gorgeous ladies of wrestling from back then, Matilda the Hun is going to be joining me soon. The face of Glow Wrestling should be joining me in the next couple of weeks, within the next couple of days, actually. So I'm very excited about that. We've had Roxy Astor on. We've had Sunny, the California girl, on. We've also had MTV on. I mean, I'm going through these bios, man, and they have an amazing biography done. Amazing documentary done on Netflix that you guys should really check out. I'm 29 years old. I have evil tattooed on my fucking fist. I was raised by hippies and motorcycle gangs. I fucking cried at the end of the documentary. Not once, fucking twice I cried. That's how good this documentary was. It influenced me so much that I needed to reach out to the Glow Girls, and I was able to get an immediate response because of my background and the platform that I have here. So, you guys have also requested what Glow Girls you want to have on. Matilda was the answer, and we're getting her on. So I'm very excited about that. If you guys want to check out some of the interviews I've done with some of the other Glow Girls, it's right here on the YouTube channel. down below. So make sure you guys subscribe there. But guys, what the fuck is going on with 50 Cent? I tried talking to Rosendo about this. 50 Cent trying to come over to box. You got Logan and Jake Paul doing these low-grade Conor McGregor versus Mayweather pressers. Have you guys seen this? Let me pull you into my computer. Let's take a trip. We are going to take a trip, and I'm going to show you the most ridiculous thing I saw last week. So if you guys don't know who Logang, if you guys don't know who Jake Paul, Logan brothers from Team 10. Oh, here we go. Let me bring you in to my world. Alright, so obviously I can't do it from here. Let me go to Google. This is so ridiculous. So these guys put on a fake presser. And I don't know if they're actually going to fight. I hope not, because no one wants to see that shit. Alright, hold on. Logan and Jake Paul from Team 10. Fight presser? Is that what I should look for? Let's see. See what comes up on the old Goog. We Googed it. Let's see. Videos. Jake Paul entrance at press conference. KSI versus Logan Paul. That's what it is. KSI. Alright, here, I'll just show you the guys this clip, because I don't want to get too in it. 30-second clip. Sorry for everyone listening to the podcast. I might have to edit this out. Maybe not. Alright, let's do this. Oh shit, let me unmute.
Let's give a big shout out, and a big warm welcome for my man Jake. Let's go, champ.
This is just awful. It's fucking Jake Paul.
Here he comes.
Let's do it. They cut his mic like Connor. Look at his suitcase. Oh, why is it over? Why is it over? Hold on. That was nothing. Hold on. It gets better. It gets not better. It actually gets much worse. That is nothing. Hold up. Oh my god. No. Oh my god. Why am I getting lost here? Deji? I don't even know who Deji is. Who is Deji? You know what? Fuck that. But it's just so funny because it's for little kids. Yeah, these little kids watching this. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't bash on it because I'm also a guy that always talks about how these types of things help get kids into checking out the real deal, Conor McGregor or Floyd Mayweather. You know what I mean? It's a stepping stone, I guess, but it's just silly to say. Let me check back in with you guys here in the chat room. That was just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. So unnecessary. Like, these are Disney kids. These are straight up Disney kids doing this. Desi's a bitch. That's what you have 10-year-old kids chanting. Absolutely ridiculous. Alright, let's see. Live chat room. So even though I got this in here, they can still see the... Is that guest trying to fuck? What? Stipe. And this fight is interesting, actually. KSI trains a lot boxing. Logan better take this seriously. See, I don't know who KSI is. Obviously a rapper, but I'm not that familiar with... I mean, can they really fight, though? Doubt it will ever happen. It's almost like a Jean-Claude Van Damme when he had that presser. They're not really going to do it. They're just hyping it up. And you got people talking about it. Look, you got me talking about it here. So it looks. Enzo Torres. KSI looks like an emaciated dingo. I don't even know what that means. And saying Stipe. Eddie does that a lot. Skypes a lot. Had some very cool guests on. What was the question? Let me see. Maybe I missed something here. Those guys are a bunch of dingleberry lickers. Boner fighting bastards. Enzo, what VHS? This message was held for review. Alright, you guys are getting crazy. Did the MMA holes just close off? Oh, by the way, I was just on the MMA holes tonight. If you guys are not already subscribed to the MMA holes, I don't know what you're doing. I'm going to actually try to call on that show more often. Maybe me and Chris can work something out where I do like a 90-second thing on each episode, or once a week or something like that. They're checking with the MMA holes over there, you know, to help build one another up. That's the goal. It's the goal, isn't it? So shout out to the MMA holes for having me on today to talk about. I don't even want to tell you what I was talking about because my boss is going to be mad if he finds out because he told me not to talk about it. But some time has passed. It's just my opinion. I'm not saying those were my exact facts. If you want to know what I'm talking about, you're going to have to head over to the MMA holes and jump to about the hour and 20-minute mark. Or the hour and like 3-minute mark, I believe. I called in. Had a little difficulty the first couple of times. Some other people got through somehow, but hey, what do you want from me? I was able to get through. Also this week, we had Bellator sign with DAZN, a 9-figure deal, which is huge. Absolutely huge. I'm going to do a little more research. I'm going to talk about this on tomorrow's show. But Bellator, before I leave you guys, I want to leave you with this note because a lot of people have been talking about this nonstop. Bellator in 2017. If you guys listened to me in 2016, you know I was trying to say that in 2017 Bellator was going to, I'm going to say it again, blossom. Well, in 2017, Bellator really ended up just working on their roster, building their roster, signing guys like Benson Henderson, where I was cage side to watch that fight, and he lost. We've seen him sign Michael McDonald, right? We've seen him sign Rampage in the past, but in 2017, 2018, getting Rory McDonald, getting Ryan Bader, signing Fedor Emelianenko, signing Matt Brion, like all these bigger names, Roy Nelson. I mean, they're actually putting on some great cards. People are very interested in. And now you have Rory McDonald going up against Gegard Mousasi. This fight, there was no way this fight wasn't going to happen, but I just had Diego Lima on recently, and Diego Lima, brother of Douglas Lima, who just fought Rory McDonald, he was saying, I don't think Bellator would ever give him that rematch. And if you guys remember what happened in that fight with Douglas Lima versus Rory McDonald, it looked like Douglas had the fight in the bag. Rory didn't even have a leg to stand on. So I was very interested in seeing what Diego's take was on this. If you guys want to check that interview, it's at episode number 120 for Pure Evil MMA on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and here on YouTube. But Bellator in 2018, moving into 2019, I think is going to really almost not level off, but they're getting there. They're definitely getting to where the UFC is. They're definitely getting noticed, being on a platform. I mean, the UFC started on that same platform. UFC started on what used to be known as the USA Network, TNT, Spike, and now the Paramount Network. TUF 10, what was it? Bisping versus my boy Mayhem Miller was the last season they did on Spike for the UFC before they came over to FS1. Now they spent time in FS1's living room and they're ready to move to ESPN's living room. That's how this works. So it would be amazing if Bellator could get a couple good deals. Here they are. We hear some talk about them getting highlights on ESPN. We hear them about maybe. Here's the thing. I think the Paramount Network's a great platform for Bellator, but I hate the one diss I have on Bellator is obviously the not having your events live. Even if the fight is in London, the people in London still have to wait an extra hour, even though it's already live down the road from them. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Or if there's a card here in the States, some of my MMA family from overseas tell me, dude, we're not going to be able to get that until next week. What is the point of watching fights a week later? And it's not like the Ultimate Fighter where you don't know what's going to happen, where there's still that, like, I wish it was live, which is also why Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series is great moving forward here, because it has that live element to it. I don't know. But Bellator, man, they're moving in the right direction. I definitely see that. Moving towards 2019, I would like to see them have more cards. Because the one thing about Bellator, too, is they don't have that many cards. You know, being on that platform, they have a very limited space. Because you got cops, reruns nonstop. Because that's way more important to entertainment. And I mean, it gets numbers, doesn't it? But you got all these legends moving over. Here, let me leave you guys with this. Since we don't really take MMA retirement seriously, we just saw Brad Pickett return. Do you think that this is kind of a move for Johnny Hendricks to maybe come to a close on his contract and, give it 3 months, go to Bellator? Do you think he'll play a better hand at Bellator? Which is kind of ridiculous because let's look at the actual statistics of guys who come from the UFC over to Bellator. It's not any easier. I broke this down, talked about it on episode 120.5. It's not any easier for these guys. But if they're getting money, like Justin Gaethje said in episode 120.5 when I replayed that clip, what's moving up in MMA? It's making a paycheck. So if Bellator offers them a pretty penny, I'm sure they will make an offer to Johnny Hendricks. I could see that happening. What do you guys think about that? Let me know on Twitter, evil_echo. I want to thank everybody for tuning in as we reach the hour and 12-minute mark. Let me end the show with a couple of questions here. Jesus, you guys are brutal. You probably can't hear Annie because you have an Obama phone. Actually, I know people that have state phones. My little sister somehow got a state phone. I have no idea how, but somehow she got her hand on a state phone, and it's not like a little dinky 1997 dial pad. It's a legit touchscreen phone that they're giving out. I live in the city, so you can't be ragging. What are you doing? You can't be ragging on the Obama phone. Come on, come on. Is this the same person that was saying this on the MMA holes earlier? I bet it is. But guys, before we let you go, make sure you subscribe down below. Let me answer one question. Just one question in the chat room because you guys are getting brutal. Enzo, no, I got a Samsung S7 Edge, which is actually a badass phone hand. CP Miochek saying great show, Ed. Thank you so much, man. I know that you guys want me to do more live streams, so I'm going to get back at it. I'm pushing forward here this year with some big changes for Pure Evil MMA. Me and James McSweeney got the show going together. If you guys don't know who James McSweeney from season 10 of The Ultimate Fighter, he's fought guys like Travis Brown, best friend with Alistair Overeem. We're going to be trying to get Alistair Overeem on in the next couple of weeks. Maybe Rashad Evans in the next couple of weeks as well. Like I told you guys earlier on, we'll have to play it by ear. Maybe, hopefully, somewhere down the road, I would love for James to go on Brendan Schaub's show and promote the show. That would be amazing. Or Rogan's show, because I've interviewed a lot of guys that have been on Rogan's show, but I'm not a fucking superstar. Maybe I'm known in the MMA media scene, but fuck, man, I'm not James McSweeney. So this is opening up a lot of doors. I'm very excited about the future. So make sure you guys subscribe to that channel as well. And we're looking for a name of the show. And we're going to be releasing the name of the show on episode 2 next Monday. So make sure you guys subscribe. You can check the podcast out on the Pure Evil MMA channel, but not the video. You can only see the James McSweeney vs. Evil Eddie podcast video. I know this is very confusing. The video cast on the James McSweeney vs. Evil Eddie YouTube channel. I will link that down below for everybody. I had a great night watching Ultimate Fighter. I'm so happy to see Joe G and Eddie go in there and get the win. I was at the edge of my seat. I even did a Periscope live reaction to it all. I mean, what a great night. Great night, great week. Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. You had Antonina Shevchenko going in there, doing her thing, showing the world that she belongs in the UFC, becoming the first duo sisters in the UFC. I mean, it's awesome. It's just so awesome. Now you got Joe Giannetti. It's been a great year. It's been an amazing year in MMA. I love being here. You guys know my take on this. I love trying to make sense of it all with everybody and share some of the headlines. Also, guys, if you would like to join the new and official Pure Evil MMA chat room, it's not open to everybody, but if you are tuning in all the time, if you are tweeting with me all the time, if you have MMA opinions and not just nonsense, I mean, some trolling's fun, I get, but I like learning about the sport. I like sharing opinions about the sport. I know a lot of people like to have fun and troll, but I can only take so much of that. So if there's anyone out there that would like to actually discuss an MMA opinion and they're on Twitter, let me know on Twitter at evil_echo. Follow me there, and maybe, just maybe, I will add you into the chat room. My name is The Knitter, and it's Ann. What? What is going on in this chat room? You guys are out of control. Also, with donations, I see you guys wanted to make donations No, I do not have a super chat. I need to boost up the YouTube channel to get that super chat going, but there is Pure Evil MMA merch out there you guys can get your hand on. That is me. On the mug. That's me, the man, in the show, in the thing. Beatles reference. Alright guys, let me sign off here. It's been a great day. It's been a great night. It was time for me to check out. Guys, Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, MyMMAnews.com. Wait until it gets to the end. Behave yourselves.